Hello and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. We're here for another club roundup and we're looking back at the second weekend of club action in Armagh. I'm joined again by Tommy Coleman, who is my special guest once more as we're going to look back at the weekends, all the action from the weekend from all the 5 divisions. As always, this podcast is brought to you in association with McKeever's Teamwear, proud suppliers of all Armagh GA merchandise. Tommy, great to have you back on. And again, as last week we started with Clonard and a big win for them. This week we'll start with Clonard and not such a good day out for them. A repeat of last year's county final by name only, I suppose. Clonard coming up against Crossmaglen, but both sides missing a lot of players, Tommy, and it's hard to read into any of these games. Like, we'll go through the rest of them in a wee while, but everybody's missing men, and it obviously wasn't the same feeling as it was when the sides last met.
No, unfortunately, I wasn't at the game yesterday. I was in Croke Park, but the teams and the team sheets I've seen that both teams were maybe going at 50%. So I think it was where both teams had about 7 or 8 players missing from the last year's starting team. So in that respect, it was a case of putting in lads and blooding them and see which way that went. Both teams did have a couple of experienced players there. Oran was still knocking about there, and Paul Hughes. So we had Dacky and Ryan Henderson in, but there was a lot of young lads in on both sides, and both getting their taste of league there. We had young Micheál O'Shea and Dacky Mullen again. Young Rogan McVeigh came on for a while, scored a great point. But so it's just feeling their way and feeling each other out. And as you say, when it comes to cutting the end of the season, nobody will be looking back at this year match and saying, this is where it was won and lost. It'll be, we have a new management team in there, and it's okay to say teams have key players missing. Yes, both teams had key players missing, but these boys are only in, and we have only young fellas in. And they're probably looking at lads trying to fill in positions where Stephen's been there now a couple of years. And them lads that he has about him would be, they would maybe have been slapping in and doing jobs maybe last year when Cross was struggling in the league a wee bit there. That's 2 wins in a row for them, and they're off to a flying start. And, there's no question or doubt about it. The 2 management teams, Stephen will be by far the happier, But, if we rest period here now and get the boys gathered up, get a couple of days off, coming up at the weekend for Easter and then back at it the week after.
I suppose it's hard to know across, Tommy. I can't see them being, celebrating too much that they got revenge over Clonard, and I don't think it would have been that sort of game like Cross. They don't really do that, I don't think, anyway. So they'll not, as you said, this game will not be read too much into, but 2 wins from 2, it's a good start for Cross.
I'm going to say, and say the latter end of last season, Cross probably had to win a couple of the games just to secure their place. They'll not want to be in that position this year. They'll just want to be in, sitting comfortable and getting ready, preparing for the championship. And it's off the flyer. That's where you want to be. You want to get off to a good start, and winning your first 2 games is fantastic. And get another 4 or 5 wins, that's you happy enough. Your security place in 1A, and you can concentrate and get ready for the championship. But there was a couple of good performances there yesterday. Young Comiskey and Fitzpatrick came up well to the fore for Crossmaglen, and then our own Jack Conlon had a great game again. I think he scored 1-3, 1-4 yesterday out of our total of 1-5, and the goal came later on, but credit Clonard kept going to the end, tried to push on and get the score. But it's good to see young lads, blooming in that their sort of environment, and that only argue well for both sides. And coming up for the championship, but to have young lads to be able to step up to that plate.
And Jack Conlon's maybe going to make a habit of scoring goals against Cross, by the looks of things.
Jack Conlon's make a habit of scoring goals. Jack Conlon is going to be a terrific footballer. Such much good time for him, and I suppose I think you had said to me I think it was after the final, after the win with Jack and Rory, when they were starting, and but they were so grounded and they knew exactly what was expected of them. And there was no doubt in my mind this year that them boys had been nailed down a starting spot, and Jack Conlon is injured at the moment, and he's only coming back from injury. He didn't make a big impact yesterday, but he has a great future ahead of him too. But Jack's been flying, and his 2 performances has been unreal. He's been our best player over the 2 matches by a mile, and I think he'll just go from strength to strength. He's great power, he's great vision, he's great accuracy, he's fearless, and so he's all them attributes. He's a lot of learning still to do. He's not the finished product yet, but by God, when he gets there, I think he's going to be a terrific player. And it gets a couple of good years like that. You're even looking, you could be talking on county standard here. That's that good.
And last week we spoke about Clonerne and their big win over Modden, and Modden, they were in action this weekend as well. They beat Cleary 2-6 to 2-5 away from home. So credit to Modden bouncing back. Tommy, it was probably a tough week for them. They wouldn't expect it to have been beaten so heavily, I suppose, by Clonerne last week, and to turn it round this week and get their first win of the season. Credit to them.
Fair play to them again, the boys. To build the boys back up, because it was a fair drubbing last week. There's no doubt about it. And then to go to Cleary and to get a result, it's been brilliant work's been on there during the week to get them lifted. I was actually talking to one of the boys, about Madden, saying the problems was even pre-season, it was getting just that consistency with them. One week they were playing well, the next week they weren't there. But I noticed now Sheridan and Smith were both playing. McCombs was playing with Cleary as well. So, them boys would be a big bonus. Maybe we're training yesterday morning or whatever it is before the game, and it'll maybe a bigger impact. And I know Madden got off the flying start, and there was 7 points up, and then Cleary, in fairness, came back at them, and it ended up Madden hung on by a point. But that's a real morale boost and win for them, and puts them right back and makes up for last week's home loss, and they get, they lost 1 week at home and then they went away, it sort of equalises itself out, and they'll be a lot happier camp now going into for the Easter break.
And I suppose Cleary maybe it's obviously too early to be getting too worried, but not the best start for them. Wayne Kearns is their manager this year, an ex-Louth manager. A draw the first day out and then a home defeat. It's not a great start for them, and I suppose the Easter break has come at a good time for them.
Yeah, well, see, Wayne's only finding his feet as well. We have to give lads a chance to go in, and they're trying to put their own print on their own style of play. And, it takes a while for our players to adjust to that. Last week there was a draw against Drummond-T. That was a big derby game, and the share of the spoils. And yesterday, obviously, Madden has come at them, came out of the traps quick. They maybe didn't expect Madden to be just where they were after last week's result. And, maybe we're sitting back a wee bit and thinking this might be a handy day out. And then when Madden scored, and then they were forced to go on the front foot, and they nearly caught them again. But it's early days, and certainly, within the next couple of games, 2-3, you would need to be picking up a win or two there just to make yourself, from a Cleary perspective, just to keep you up at the right end of the table, because not 2 or 3 defeats, and then you're starting to look over your shoulder and looking what's ahead of you, and pressure starts to come on. And when the pressure starts coming on in these games, that's when things can go against you. So, Cleary, they'll be aware of it, but it'll be nice. It's a nice break for them, and come at the right time. They can regroup, and it'll give Wayne a chance to put whatever stamp on it and correct what's going wrong, and get his message across.
And they were the only 2 games in Division 1A from the weekend. Greenmore and Mahary, they're playing on Tuesday evening at 6:45 in Mahary. So that'll be the 3rd game from 1A this week. Moving into 1B, Tommy will start with the game I was at, Ballymcnabb and Cullyhanna. It ended 1-5 apiece, and we were just saying off earlier, that's obviously a low-scoring game, but the amount of attacking quality that, if these 2 teams meet later in the year, that will be on the field, obviously wasn't there. You had the 3 county men from Cullyhanna, Duffy, Ross McCowan, Aidan Nugent, and then Ballymcnabb were down the 2 Grugans, Ryan Candy and Gavin McParlin. So I suppose take them 7 players off the field and you're going to be minus a lot of quality.
It's not. I've said this all along there, guys, about the NAB, and whatever time you get them, and the boys to put back, it'll be a totally different side. And it's the same with Cullyhanna. But the quality that these boys are bringing to this division, they'll be unreal. I spoke about Rory Grogan before in a couple of interviews, and when he comes back from the county and goes back into his club side, such a difference he make. I personally didn't appreciate. I always said he was a good player, but I never appreciated how good he was until you're actually starting on the line, trying to counteract what he's doing and getting him to do that job for you. He's just a super class actor, and he's just a cut above what I've seen about. Like, he's with that experience that he has, his vision that he has, his accuracy, and and when even the like of Roy plays, he gives, and this is being an odd man anyway, he'll give everybody else that extra 10, 20, 30%. It's just that there lift when he's around the team.
And I suppose, tell me, for the likes of Ballymacnabb, Rory's on the county, Ryan Kennedy's injured, Jack's injured, and the three county boys for Cullyhanna, it's probably difficult for them two teams. Like, they're just, trying to get a good start, and obviously they'll both be delighted that they picked up a point and didn't start their seasons with losses. But until the county men come back, they could find it a while to find their feet, I suppose.
Yeah, I said that there last week about Cullyhanna. They hadn't got a game, and the difference that they would make, to I'd say at the top end of the table, and without them could really struggle. This is a league where there's three drop, and it's a nightmare. Like, it's a real tough division, and anybody is, and in fairness, most of the leagues in Armagh are like this year. Most teams could beat anybody on any given day here, and you really do want and need your quality players there. I think the knob, when you get Ryan and Jack back and Gabby back, that'll be a great lift for them in the league. Cullyhanna obviously not going to get the three boys to the counties finish, but there's a chance that Knob will get the three lads, hopefully back soon, because we all want to see the best players playing. We want to go watch them week in, week out, and then Rory will be back when the counties finish. So it'll be interesting times, but I expect the Knob to be, and not because you're sitting there, but I expect the Knob to be up at the top end of that. I'll really be surprised if they're not. Having played them in the semi-final of the championship last year, and just realising how good they were. Now, of course, they are, some of them are at their wrong age, coming to their wrong age, and they're coming to the end of the career. But there's two good men in there with them. I know Barry and Paul very well, and they'll certainly be able to manage them lads and have them right, and they'll keep them fresh and keep them ready so that they'll be ready for the championship. And I feel the Knob will be far away. Like, I'd be very surprised if they don't get themselves out of 1B and back up into 1A, and it'll be a question who goes with them.
Hopefully that's the target anyway, tell me. I'll let you build us up. I'll not say no more about it. The other two big, I'll build up everybody else in the division here, tell me. Two huge results yesterday. Clonagale beating the Oaks 3-19 to 8 points, and Mullabone beating Grange 19 to 3-6. I suppose, looking at that group, it's easy to say, Ballymacnabb, Cullyhanna, Sarsfields are experienced Division 1 team. They're back up after last year in the intermediate. But Mullabone and Clonagale, have they maybe come in under the radar a wee bit? We know Clonagale's been building for a good few years, but could they surprise a few people in this league?
Well, I can tell you now, see, in Ryan Lurgan, there will nobody surprised because they've told us all what they're going to do. I don't know what they ever appreciate that from me or not. But no, Clonagale's a good side, some great young players coming through. And they obviously, they've always had that confidence about them from back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And, and it's great to see that in any club. They believe the rightful position is where they are. And yesterday was a resounding win. Again, an Oaks team, I mentioned this last week, Oaks are in a position where there's a lot of players retired this year. Some of them are not playing for I don't know what all the reasons are, if it's injuries or whatever it is, but, you can only feel sorry for Shorty at the moment. He hasn't even got the full complement of players, even without the retirees, to pick from. So, at this stage, Pierce Oaks, and looks like it's going to be hard struggle for them unless some of the players come back in and give them a pull out there and see what they can do. But, it was a 20-point defeat there yesterday. It's a heavy defeat. But Clonagale are a good side. They'll be at the right end of the table too. There's no question doubt about that. And then Soupy is another player when he comes back in around the Clans, he gives all them players such a lift. And if they have great young players, they like a young Shane McPartland in the team. There's a good young McConville is on the way up. The captain of the county minor side there years ago. These young Matty Lannon, these boys are all good players, good footballers. And while they go up this year or not remains to be seen, but I expect them to be at the right end. As long as they're playing that standard of football, and you have to look at what way they played against the Cross last year in the preliminary round of the championship. And for instance, they only had a few matches in 2A, which was intermediate level because of the COVID and the way things had worked out. They had to finish off their league campaign in 2A, but had to play in the senior championship. So they never even got really any quality games against the top opposition to prepare themselves for that, and they gave Cross a right run in that round. So confidence-wise and everything else, they're not being, as I say, under the radar. Definitely not around this part of the county, and they'll be there. Mullabone, that was a good win for Mullabone. A real good win for Mullabone. Grange, and I remember rightly back last year when we were all pushing promotion and we were watching for results and stuff. Mullabone actually beat Grange last year in Mullabone as well, and that sort of left it that we had to go up to Mullabone and we had to beat Mullabone to go up, and it was no easy match, I can tell you that. So 19 points is a good score. The score now, not 19, and the conditions, they weren't great. Not go with that there is that again defensively that will probably be looking at themselves. Peter and Wayne were looking going, well, geez, conceded 3 goals there. Maybe should have had the game away quicker, but still to be able to there's always some great forwards that take a Loy and McDonald and Ellie English. These boys are all great footballers, and they can take scores, but I suppose Peter look a wee bit more on the defensive side of that after conceding 3 goals, but he'll be cut the hoop of that there when that's a good win for them. And I know that last week they were getting beat by 7 or 8 points, I think, at the stage when the young lad got injured. Thank God that young lads will come to full recovery again, so they would not serious come out of that. So it's a first win for Mullabone on the board, and the Grange have a win and a loss there, and you know what, that their league's going to be. It's going to be a tight one, and I think on who's that second position is going to be, I think, the Nab, and I don't know who'll go with them, but that's going to be a tight affair.
I think that Division 1B, it's possibly the hardest to call, or it's going to be the most exciting. We keep going back to this 3 relegation spots. It just makes it so exciting that there's going to be it's probably all the teams are an equal enough standing, and 3 of them to go down it's going to be harsh.
It is, Silverbridge only, Silverbridge beat us down in Silverbridge and only saved themselves on the last day last year from going down, and they ended up in the quarter and the semi-final of the championship. So I'll give you an idea just how tight and how strong that is. And Sarsfields beat Silverbridge last week by a goal. So this is going to be a real tight league, and it'll be interesting to watch these results as they come in from week to week. And 3 going down, if you do get to touch the tall, if you were to lose 3 or 4 out of your first 4 games, you could find yourself in serious problems there, because if 3 going down, it'll be hard to pull yourself back out of that.
On Division 2A then, tell me, with 2 draws on two games that ended the exact same scores, with Wolf Tones 110, Tullysarn 110, and Waycross 110, St Paul's 110. Tones got off to a great start against Tullysarn. I think they were 1-3 to a point up, and then Tullysarn come back in and got a draw by the end of the game. So Wolf Tones got beat last week by 2 by St Peter's, and a draw this week to get them off the mark. it's hard to judge how they would feel at the minute, while Tully Sarn, they're now on 3 points after 2 games, so I'd say they're happy enough with their 2 outings.
Yeah. Well, Tones were 6-1 ahead, and Tully Sarn came back at them. The first with blood sub, Ryan Conlon came on. Ryan would be an old stalwart down there. He came on and had a terrific game for him. Ali Malone, Stally Ali, as usual, got his goal again and brought them back, and it looked like they were going ahead on to win it. But Tones got a late free, and Owen McGee stepped up and put it over. And by all accounts, they missed 2 frees at the end, which could have won them the match. So that was another, tight game. If it had been asked me to call before, I'd had to go with Tully Sarn, slight favourites for that game. But fair play to the Tones. That's a great walkout after the defeat last week to come in and get a point. Because again, this is another exciting. I know that there's 7 teams in this, but there's not a big lot in these teams. 2 up, 2 down, 3 going nowhere, and it's every point is critical in this here division. And for the Tones to get their point yesterday was a big. I'm sure Peter Nugent was relieved to get their point. Gets it off and running this game, gets his wee rest and be able to build on it. Peter be very astute. He'll know where to go, and he'll be exactly. He's a very, very astute to detail, and he'll be analysing everything to last, and he'll be looking to get them ready and up for the next match. So,
and then you had White Cross and St Paul's as well. Tommy 110 apiece, and I suppose St Paul's under Shane McConville again.
yeah,
I'm sure there's a bit of excitement maybe in St Paul's. I know they're obviously down Andre Mernon at the minute, but with Shane back in, maybe they're building again for another go with this intermediate.
Shane's as a good manager as there is in Ulster, never mind the county. Great friend of my own, and that their league's actually some of the boys that's in that league managing is unbelievable. Davy Wilson with the Peters, the experience that he has too. Peter Nugent, Davy Hart and John Devine, Tully Sarn. It goes on here. So everybody's pushing and doing it for them. But Shane, what Shane brings to St Paul's is just, he's like Ruth Grogan going in and playing with Barry McNabb. Everybody just raises and lifts him. He's such a club man. It's just, it's Shane's life, and he'll throw everything at that there to bring these boys and get them back up there and challenge again for an intermediate thing. Now that's a good result at White Cross to go there and to get a point. And by all accounts, it was a real wiser of a point at the end from White Cross to get the equaliser, to get a share of the spoil. So, that's a good performance. And St Paul's didn't get a game last week, and to get that game and to get off and to get a point and get a point away from home and such a tight division, I'm sure Shane will be more than happy with that there.
And heading down then to Division 2B, I suppose we'll start with Blake. We sort of spoke about them last week, that it was great for them just coming up from winning the junior, and to get off to a winning start to beat Katy last week. They beat Fork Hill on Sunday, and I suppose it has to be said Fork Hill were minus a lot of players, and no more so than their 3 county men. And I just want to give a shout out to Barry Shannon. Tommy, after all these years, he's still pulling on the Fork Hill jersey. He's still doing the business for Fork Hill.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what age Barry Shannon is, but he's still going.
I think he's near as old as me. I think Barry, last time I was talking about, he's near as old as me. He's a great lad, he's a great warrior, and he's still there playing. But Blake's have done really well here. Like, they've really hit the ground running. You're coming out of a junior level into an intermediate level, and it hasn't faced them one bit. And the two wins out of 2. That's Brianni. He's telling that's a great start. I know what Fort Hill, as you say, they're missing Paddy and Stephen and Jamar, but still at that there, there's some real good players. Boris Young, the Opera, what do they call it? The Opera, she's still there. Josh Young and a couple of them last. Because I played them boys when I was at Tully Sarn and come up against them, and there's some right tasty players there. So for Blakes to come up, and it'll be a bit of a South Armagh derby in there as well, and so I think Blake's it's hats off to them. You know, that's all I can say. You know, to go and to win them two matches to get off to the start, and you know, to build that momentum, and they'll be happy to have a couple of training sessions this week and sure and take a few days off for Easter and get back and look forward to the next game. That's terrific, really. Terrific.
And the other two results then in Division 2B, at Clonmore beating Ballyhagan 0-9 to 1-4, and Cullaville they beat Tiernan 2-11 to 0-13. And I suppose Cullaville, for what they done last year, reaching the intermediate final, incredibly reaching the intermediate final, beating the likes of Shane O'Neill, St Paul's and Sarsfields, who were probably the three favourites for the championship. They beat them. They're in Division 2B. They were relegated on the last day of the season last year. They'll be going gung-ho to try to get promotion and get back up into 2A. But we spoke about Thomas McAleenan last week. Tommy, for his performance, it was probably the performance of the week. Colin Waters maybe gave the performance of the week this week. He scored 1-7 for Cullaville against Tiernan.
Yeah, Colin seems to be getting better with age. He's like a good old wine, isn't he? He just keeps performing and keeps putting these performances in. Like it's incredible tally and it's an incredible performance to score 1-7. I think Portadown, I think the not 13 doesn't tell all the story. They were reduced to 14 men very early on. You know, when they're a young side too, and they battled on, you know, you look on the thing. You know, it was 13 scores each, but again, the goals made the difference there. And, you know, you have players like that Colin there, you know, just step up and keep doing it week after week. You know, it's fantastic for them. And, you know, definitely we all, you know, we're looking at that league and we're looking at Cullaville come straight out of that league. And who comes with them, that's probably where we're at there. You know, and yeah, Tiernan Oak, you know, hopefully we'll be able to build on where they're going here. I know they have a lot of young players. I think we spoke about this here last week again, and you know they showed a lot of fighting spirit by all accounts there yesterday, and that's a couple of defeats there for them. But hopefully, you know, they get themselves rallied round and put a few results together, and you know, even they consolidate themselves in that league this year and then to push on.
I think,
you know,
Cullaville showed the quality they had last year and maybe took a lot of teams by surprise. That'll maybe give them a lot of confidence. I know they've Niall Rowland obviously still to come back, but that'll maybe give them a lot of confidence this year that they can push on and get promotion.
Yes, surely. I think so. You know, there's no doubt about it. I would be very, very surprised if they don't now, to tell you the truth, Sean. They've got that there. They've got that there a bit about them, and you know what they showed last year in the championship. And yeah, that's them and whoever goes with them. It's it. Cullaville for me for that in that division.
And we'll get down to Division 3 then. Tommy, I suppose the big one in Division 3 was the Middletown and Dorsey game. Dorsey had an incredible win last week, scored 320 against Cleary. And it didn't happen for them against Middletown. They won 215 to 4 points. And more impressively for Middletown, done it without their county hurlers who were up against Roscommon on Sunday. So disappointing for Dorsey after what they done last weekend.
That was one of the results really caught my eye, you know, because we remember talking about it last week, and they had a terrific game with Cleary last week. They scored 320 last week to 211, and we said, yeah, maybe the defences were a wee bit suspect, but you know, obviously had to be great forwards. And I don't know what happened really with them. We don't need to score 0-4. And you know, by all accounts, they didn't score, didn't register a score in the second half. And I don't know whether that's down to conditions or there was players missing or what happened, but it was a surprise result there. All been said, because I was expecting to see. I was looking forward to seeing what they put up this week, to be honest with you. And then I was coming home last night, was checking all the results on the page, and I seen it. And I said, I actually flicked back and said, "Is that right? That I left a 1 or 2 out there, you know?" So I don't know who was missing or what happened, like, but it was, to me, you're never surprised at Middletown, to be honest with you, because when they're at home, they always find a wee bit more about them, and they can always get the win, you know. So when they do pull up a big win, I never really get surprised by it. But as you said, I hadn't got their county man. It was a terrific performance yesterday, but I was surprised that the scoring of Dorsey with 0-4 and the ease of which Middletown won that game.
Yes, it's a surprise, and I suppose we've said it a couple of times on this evening's podcast. Tell me that maybe the couple of weeks break or the 10-day break will do Darcy the world of good. They've sort of had their bad performance maybe, and they can start to rebuild again.
Yeah, I suppose, it shows we're looking at. We don't know just who all was missing, and it could have been a load of boys away somewhere or whatever. We just don't know. But whatever it is or whatever's going on, to be able to regroup now, as you say, and get that bit of a rest and get themselves up and going again. And we'll look forward to seeing how to get on in the next game. Yeah.
And just running through the rest of the results in Division 3 then, there was only 3 other games. Derry Speed O'Hanlon's 115-11. The Summon beat Thomas Davis 212-7. On our Rogue and another win, Tommy, they defeated Newtown 114-12 points to sit top of the table. 2 wins from 2. Great start for our Rogue.
A brilliant start for our Rogue, and as it's had a real solid performance there against a decent team. They're very impressed. The young Dean McCluskey and the two McKees. Two brother McKees and the fans were very, very, very good for them. They're out there and they're trying to rebuild. They've a couple of Tyson and a couple of other boys, Daniel Rand around them, are just trying to have a bit of experience, but they're trying to blood them young lads in, and they're doing a great job there. And young Walsh in around the middle of the field is playing really, really well. He's had 2 real good games for them. And young Keelan McCrory up front got a couple of lovely scores there. So they're building along nicely. And she said, St. Michael's will know, at that level of football or a good outfit, they're going to be at the right end of it as well when it comes to it. So it was a good, comfortable win. I know it was in our Rogue. So, but 114-12 was a 5-point win. And yes, they're pushing on well. And, they'll be more than happy with their start. And they'll do their work this week and the following week and keep the head down because as I said, they went well for a long part of the season last year and just faltered towards the end of it. So a couple of injuries and stuff. So if they can build up, especially these new young lads coming through, and they can keep them fit, hopefully they'll have a good year.
So as we've mentioned a couple of times, obviously the Easter break is coming up now. So there'll be no games this weekend apart from the county hurlers. They're travelling to Donegal on Sunday in the second round of the Nicky Record Cup. But we'll hopefully be back for another podcast on Thursday or Friday, and we'll try to have a special podcast, something maybe to do with the Armagh match coming up the following week or something. I'll get my thinking cap on, Tommy, and see what I can come up with. But thanks very much for coming on, Tommy, and it's great hearing your thoughts about all the games from the weekend.
That's grand. Anytime, Sean. It's always a pleasure. All right, good job.